Coming up next on Feedback Friday, it's Battle of the Brands for this week, and we've got your comments on our programming from last week.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to PWR Feedback Friday, here for Friday, October 21st, 2016. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. Why the glum face? Why do you look so sullen, if you will?
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
But I get today off.
No, not for the last couple of years you haven't. It's time for you to answer the fans, the peeps, the feedback. Friday.
Okay, then roll it.
All right. Well, let's get right to your comments, ladies and gentlemen. Our first comment comes to us from a user by the name of EISO. He says, and this is a good question, actually, David Hero. If WCW had won the Monday Night Wars, meaning WWE essentially, I guess, being put out of business, would pro wrestling still be around? In my opinion, I don't think WCW could have built what now is WWE, and that pro wrestling would have had to resort back to a territorial-like system.
Well, first of all, if WCW would have won, that means WWE would have been gone.
Yeah.
So one of them was going to be gone. And that's what happened. Monday Night Wars, someone had to lose, and it was not good for WCW.
But if WCW would have won, the question is, what would pro wrestling still be around?
Yeah, because they would have got the Steve Austins and the Rocks, and those bigger talents would have came over.
So here's what a lot of people may not fully understand. Now, WCW was just bleeding money at the end of its run, but it made a ton of money during its run. But the real death blow to WCW was not that. It was the cancellation of the programming on TBS and TNT by the network, which they may have still done, because the ratings weren't bad when they did that.
No.
They may have still done that even if WCW had won the Monday Night Wars and still been in that position.
I just think it's crazy.
That would mean that there would be no wrestling on TV.
15 years later, we're still talking about WCW.
This is a valid question, though, David Hero. It's relevant to today. Would pro wrestling still be around if WCW had won the Monday Night Wars? I don't think that question's really ever been asked, and I think it's worth answering.
No, I agree, but just weird talking about WCW.
People like to hang on to, well, I mean, Goldberg's back. WWE talked a lot about WCW this week on Raw, so perhaps that brought it back into relevance.
Which only helps the network. You know, Cal didn't know much about Goldberg. He went on the network and he watched a whole bunch of Goldberg stuff then. He's like, wow, he's a beast. And then he kind of laughed when he goes, Dad, I saw how Uncle Kev beat Goldberg. Because that's kind of shady.
Oh, that taser. Which was worse, the taser or the Miss Elizabeth Hulk Hogan handcuff scene? You remember that?
No.
On Nitro. She was handcuffing Hogan to the corner of the ring.
Okay.
And she couldn't get the handcuffs locked.
Is this what Gawker was talking about?
Let's go to our next comment, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from a user by the name of Tyler Durden. Tyler asks this. He says, I have a question for Mr. Hero. With all the trolling TNA accusations that have been thrown at you, can you explain how the flux capacitor on a DeLorean works?
I really should.
Don't you need celery and carrots or something in there?
Yeah, it's like a
vegetables. It's like a protein shake.
No, it was a juicer. It was a cleanse.
Ah, the guy with the eyebrows?
Kale, you know.
They didn't have kale back then.
They didn't?
It wasn't a thing yet. No one had dug that far yet.
So we get beets, cucumbers, carrots. Yeah, I mean, all these accusations. Once again, what's my tagline? It'll prove itself. Have I been wrong about anything that I've said?
He just wanted to know how the flux capacitor works.
No, and I appreciate what he's saying, but I'm not wrong.
How many gigawatts was it? Or was it gigawatts? Gigawatts. It was gigawatts, wasn't it?
Shot by lightning for it to work.
Folks, let's go to our next comment, which comes to us from a person whose real name is clearly FMDOF. FMDOF. All small caps. And this we talked about, I'm just going to read this as it is.
Oh, please.
And I quote, it might not be a generalization of the PWR fans. That was my fault, I'm sorry. But it is sure as shit a generalization of the IWC in general. You guys have always praised the TNA talent and their weekly impact, but to the internet wrestling community, your one comment about the mismanagement makes you WWE marks and clueless on the industry, which itself is laughable because both of you have forgotten more about wrestling than the internet wrestling community will ever know. And that's forgetting the fact that you are in the industry and have close personal friends in the industry, whereas whereas they might know some YouTuber who has a podcast where they once interviewed Carlito in a bowling alley. Now, here's what this person's saying, and it's a little backwards.
We don't make stuff up.
No, exactly. This is what this person's saying is, last week I said in the Feedback Friday, I think the Feedback Friday snippet that we had, that some of the things you were saying were not a generalization of our viewers or our fans or the wrestling fans out there. So I was trying to mop something up that you had spilled. And FMDO off is simply saying that, again, it's not a generalization of the PWR viewers, but it is a generalization of the IWC in general.
You know what's crazy is when TNA talents call us and say, "Hey, what did you hear?" So obviously,
Well, I think we've made the point many a time again. Look, there is a lot of things that we elect not to share on this show, on Twitter, on things of that nature. But when we do share things, you better rest pretty damn assured that it's fact. And it is
thoroughly researched
with at least one phone call. Yes, but just know that, and there is no agenda here to try to do clickbait or get views or get tweets and have breaking news and exclusive stories. I don't give a damn about that. What we care about is presenting you with information in an entertaining and informative way, which is what I hope we at least are able to achieve each and every week. So thank you, FMDO off. I am intrigued to hear what your real name is. I always like to get better connected with our friend. Fumduff?
Fumduff.
Is that Nairobi?
He's Pakistani.
All right, let's go to our next comment here, and this comes from a YouTube user by the name of, right here, David, to the cameras, Captain Charisma Y2J. Captain Charisma Y2J is the screen name, and he says,
the love child of Jericho and Christian?
He says, this person says, I'm surprised that this channel only has 26,000 subscribers, and it should at least have 100,000. Well, you know what, David Hero? I tend to agree with that.
I do too.
So right now, folks, take an opportunity to join the several thousands of people who have already subscribed to this program so you never miss an episode. Click on the gimmick right down in the corner there and subscribe to the Pro Wrestling Report here on YouTube so that you never miss an episode and always get a chance to watch our shows. You get notifications on your phone, you get notifications via email, all set up by you once you subscribe here to the Pro Wrestling Report on YouTube. With that, we're going to take a time out. When we come back, the final leg of our journey down your discussion river here on the Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday.
Take a moment right now to subscribe to PWR on YouTube so you never miss an episode.
Welcome back, fans, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday, David Hero, here on Friday, October 21st, 2016. And we are going to go now into Battle of the Brands. As you know, each and every week we ask you out there via Twitter what you thought of the best, or which show was the best of the two this week, whether it be Raw or SmackDown. Before we get to that, David Hero, let's go ahead and share what we thought were the best of the best this week. And let's start with you. What was your takeaway from WWE Raw this week?
There's only one thing to take away from Raw, and that was the return of Goldberg. Hands down, best segment in the last 2 or 3 months.
And as we learned on Primetime, you are now a fan of the match. You want to see the matchup. You were invested by Goldberg's promo.
His emotional promo has me curious and invested. I don't need to see it, but now it'll make it easier to watch.
You're going to love it. It's going to love you. You're going to love it.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
That we will. Well, on SmackDown, your highlight was clearly, as you said earlier, the Spirit Squad being back on the show.
I mean, how
so
can you
really good
love
to pick
seeing
that.
Those guys jump and cheer.
I would say the fact that James Ellsworth got his second win over AJ Styles was the takeaway from SmackDown, in an interesting stopgap kind of story to fill the void between shows, I guess.
In 2016, you'd see James Ellsworth go over on the world champion, and the Spirit Squad beat the tag champs.
And that's what makes SmackDown great, isn't it?
Yes.
Folks, you voted and your votes are in. And this week, you shortened the gap a little bit between Raw and SmackDown. As you know, SmackDown on about an 8-week winning streak. Well, this week, it won again with 59% of the votes. But Raw crept way up there from its 21% last week with 41% of the votes.
41% was a Goldberg vote.
You're right. But last time, the only 2 times prior to this that Raw won was Finn Balor's Demon debut, I think, or Finn Balor's debut, perhaps, and it was also when Sasha Banks won the championship. Or perhaps it was when Kevin Owens won, because he won it on Raw, right?
Yes, yep.
So those were the only 2 times that Raw won. So Goldberg not quite getting to that level as well.
Goldberg popped a huge rating for them.
He did. He did good. SmackDown did a good rating as well, with some 2.5 million viewers again this past Tuesday night on the USA Network. With that, though, let's get back into your comments. And the next one comes to us from a commenter by the name of C. Phoenix, who says, and I quote, Brock Lesnar is going to do his 3 moves of doom and make Goldberg look bad and overhyped. Give the fans part 2 of one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history. Yeah, that's not bad booking at all. Also, is it me or did Brock Lesnar actually forget how to wrestle? All he does are corner shoulder blocks to the stomach, suplexes, and F5s. Zzz, lame.
That's what UFC fighters do. They fight, they punch, they kick.
Like Finley?
Sure.
Because his name was Finley and he liked to fight?
Yeah. It's going to be a rough match. I mean, it's going to be rough. The first few bumps Goldberg takes, he's not going to be ready for it.
You're assuming he's going to walk into whichever date and time this match is, and that's going to be his first time in the ring in 12 years. He's not going to freshen up?
No, but it's the first time in the ring with Brock Lesnar.
That was also his last time he was in the ring was with Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar's a beast, dude. He's like running into a wall.
Let's go to our next comment, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to go to a comment from a user by the name of James Merrill. James Merrill, ladies and gentlemen, who says, and I quote, as far as the Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Hell in a Cell match, I could not be more excited. And it honestly disappoints me to hear David completely bury them and their match. Of course they deserve to be in a Hell in a Cell. And even though they may not be, they could totally be the main event, or they would over-deliver. They are 2 of the top performers on the Raw brand, period. Regardless of gender. Sasha Banks kicked off Raw in Oakland that I attended and by far got the biggest pop of the night, and it wasn't even close. The men and women in WWE are equal. And wrestling fans like David Hero, who are stuck in the past, need to get with the picture.
What's the picture?
Sasha Banks and Charlotte in a Hell in a Cell matchup at the event in 2 weeks.
You know what? Much like all my TNA trolling, we'll see in 2 weeks. We'll see
Well,
how good that match is.
let's not put tarnish on the good work that our reporting has been on TNA,
I'm reporting on this Hell in a Cell match is not.
which only you are saying is going to be bad.
It's not gonna. It won't be terrible, but look what's gonna
Here,
be following.
the escape hatch is being opened just a little bit. It's not going to be
I said
terrible.
both girls are gonna have a great match, but it shouldn't go on last, and it shouldn't be the last Hell in a Cell match. This is all. Okay, you want to know my real theory on this whole thing?
What's your real theory
You know
on
why
this whole thing?
Why the women are closing Hell in a Cell?
Why are the women closing
What
Hell in a
is
Cell?
October? Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Why not put the girls on top? Oh, tell me it doesn't make perfect sense. Please tell me it doesn't make sense.
Due to my position as a surrogate for the Trump campaign, I can't comment on that
You
particular
know
issue.
I'm right. That's why they're doing it.
Let's just talk about the fact that there were 33,000 emails deleted, and where did those go? That's what I want to know.
Ask Julian. He knows where all that stuff is. Seriously, come on. Take your Trump hat off for a few minutes. Tell me you didn't think of that?
I never thought of that.
But
That
it
never
makes-
once crossed my
it
mind.
makes sense, doesn't it?
I don't. I
Oh,
disagree. No, I disagree, David Hero. I do not think, and I think it's a slippery slope. Not that you're going on, but a slippery slope that a lot of people have gone on with WWE's true motives with their support of some of these causes. Connor's Cure being one of them. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to go there.
I'm
So
there.
you
I'm
are
on top
parked
of
and
that.
waiting for your food right now, actually.
I got my skis on, and I'm saying,
Skeet.
yes, dude, seriously.
Goddamn.
Think about this.
I'm not. No. This has been Feedback Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
I speak the truth.
As you see it, and we will be back with you again for another edition of Primetime next week.
Death
So
Dealer,
thank you so
2
much
words.
for joining us. That was actually a comment made, and I skipped it. It was a comment made on our very first episode. So it's interesting, from 1998.
Oh, she's talking about you, not me.
Yeah, it was talking about me. Yes. And with that, folks, we are done. So for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the programming of PWR.